Hello and welcome to the Arty Mummy. Today we're learning how to make an owl costume. So if your child needs an owl costume and you want to be able to make it, I'm going to show you step by step how to make one that turns out like this one that my little Aaliyah is wearing for us today. Here we go. And here's your material list: one cream, brown or earthy coloured t-shirt, long sleeve, one size too large. Some brown cotton for sewing, a metre of brown t-shirting fabric, and optionally you can either buy some brown pants, or I made mine using 1 metre of dotty suede in brown. It's a material that's available here. I'm not sure if it's available everywhere, but it was a really lovely little touch to make little owl legs. In the felt we bought off the roll because it's cheaper. 1 metre of grey, 1 metre of cream, half a metre of off-white, brown, dark brown and black, and then small A4 or scrap pieces of yellow and orange. So let's dive in. First we've got the first part of the pattern. One size too large will give you room to sew your semicircle piece of material into the space between the bottom of the arm and the side of the shirt, and that'll let you sew it in without losing a size on your shirt and making it end up too small. Now don't worry too much about your sewing skills there, it will be fine. It'll all be covered up by the feathers of the owl, so just cut out the piece according to my little picture there, lay your t-shirt out flat, measure it out, and cut a semicircle shape going from the bottom of the shirt to the end of the sleeve and into the armpit, and that'll make your little quarter semicircle piece that you can then sew in to fit. And just a quick little look at the pair of pants I made, and all I did was I took a pair of my daughter's pants and laid them out and cut a pattern from them and sewed them up. Pants are pretty simple, you can find lots of little tutorials on those, I'm sure. And I'm just going to give you a quick look at the headpiece for the owl before we dive right on into making it. So I'll show you the pattern in a moment for making this sides of the head part and the back, and then we just cut a kind of a leaf shape out and sew that into the top, and that'll make your head really easily. And the way that the eyes stand up close, stand up sort of straight instead of flat against the head, is by pinching those leaf shapes and sewing them on like that. And I'll also go into how to get the shapes right to get the actual owl face. So here's your pattern. I've turned it inside out and made a pattern that you should be able to follow. Pause now if you need to get those measurements, because they might not be up there for long enough. But yeah, I think I've got them all there well enough for you to follow. Don't pay attention to the actual dimensions of it, pay attention to the measurements written on it, because I didn't do that very accurately. So once you've cut out those side pieces on the fold, then you cut out the kind of leaf shape, and you just sew that right on in the gap that's made at the top. And there's the dimensions for getting the centre of the head part in. So the pointy bit of that goes to the back of the head, and the flat bit goes onto the forehead. And again, you can pause that to get those measurements, and then we'll move on to how to get his face all cute. So just about to show you the measurements for the face there. So again, pause if you need to. We want to cut 2 circles of orange, 6 centimetres across, 2 circles of yellow, 4.5 centimetres, 2 circles of black at 2.5 centimetres, and 2 circles of white at 1 centimetre. And on that piece is all the dimensions as well that you need for the beak and the sort of heart shape that we put it on in white. You want to cut this before you cut any of the other feather shapes, because these are the larger pieces that you need to cut, and you don't want to run out or get your measurements wrong and not be able to make the head without having to go buy more stuff. So then we've got the feather shapes. They're basically just a leaf shape. You don't have to be too particular about cutting them out. Now, the same ones that I use for the feathers are the same ones that I use for the back of the eye or the eyebrows. And to get them stand up, like I said just before, I just kind of pleated them in and hand stitched a couple of stitches in there, and then popped them onto the middle of the front, and then I could glue the white on top of that, and that made it stand out from the headpiece rather than lay flat on it. So you can see there from another angle how that actually works, and it works quite well. So once I glued it all on, I secured it with a couple of stitches of black through the middle of the black part of the eye, which held it all together. Now for the fun part, you need to get your felt pieces and cut out as many as you possibly can of these feather shapes. Now the dimensions are there for you, and this part I enlisted the help of my kids and got them cutting because it was just doing my hands in something terrible. I have a bit of arthritis, so get people in to help you. You're going to be cutting a lot of these. Have fun with that, and we'll move on to the next part. Neck collar, the dimensions of that, and once you've finished it, you just sew some of those feather shapes onto the seam preferably, and then you'll have a nice smooth soft part for being against the child's neck, and it'll hide the seam as well. And yeah, that was pretty easy to do, that little bit. You can secure that with a press stud or some Velcro. I just prefer to use a good quality small safety pin because I use mine for my costume hire shop, and they need to fit a variety of children, not just one. So just lots of different coloured feather pieces on that, and it just kind of give it a nice little finishing touch there around the neckline, and it also holds the headpiece in place nicely. So that's that part. Oh, and just the last little thought on that neck piece. Now I've chosen to use the very soft minky fabric that I used for the pants, but if you don't have anything like that or don't want to buy something like that, just use your little t-shirting material scraps that you've had from the wings. Now to the actual body, we cut out the feather shape on the rest of the wing, on the rest of the felt. Cut out as many as you can because you're going to need nearly all of them. I only had a handful left when I was finished from all of that felt. There is a lot of cutting in this, but it's well worth the end result. Now you can see here how I attached them with just a few little stitches at the top of each feather, and just doing them in rows, starting at the bottom and working my way up, making sure that the next layer just covers any gaps that you might see when you put them over, and it covers up the stitching of the one below it, and that works out really nicely. And just sewing that little bit of it at the top rather than fully attaching them gives it a lot of movement when the child turns and swings and flaps their wings, and it just gives it a really nice feel. I kept to the lighter brown colours in the front of the chest part, so all of the front body part of the t-shirt I did in the lighter browns and creams and the off-white colour, and I just kept a few of those to dot through the wings and the rest of it. And then I'll show you here the last little touch, which was the tail, and I just attached them to each other because I didn't make the shirt extend down in any way. I just attached some extra feathers to each other down the bottom there, and I did try and keep those ones quite symmetrical. With the other ones you can be a little bit more random with them. and get away with it quite well. So that's about it. One last little tip I have for you is to sort of divide your feathers into 2 piles of even amounts of colour. So if you've got 15 red feathers in one, have 15 red feathers in the other, and make sure that you get him sort of symmetrical that way with one side and the other of the wings and the back and the front. So my little girl loves it. Hopefully my customer will soon when she picks it up, and I hope you enjoy making it and that your lovely children enjoy it too. This would also work for adults and make a great Halloween or school play costume, school dress-ups, a Stedford, book day, anything else. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know how you went with it. Bye for now.